You've probably seen the word Stoicism popping up everywhere lately, right? From self-help blogs to tech billionaires, it feels like this ancient philosophy is having a major comeback. But what is it, really? And can a 2,000-year-old way of thinking actually help us navigate the chaos of modern life? Let's find out.
We have to start here, because this is the reality for so many of us. The constant pressure, the noise, the uncertainty. It's no surprise that anxiety and depression are at an all-time high. It's a massive challenge, not just for our society, but for each of us individually.
And that brings us to the big question. I mean, it sounds a little crazy, doesn't it? Can a set of ideas from guys in togas from way back in ancient Greece and Rome actually offer a practical, real-world solution to the mental health struggles we're facing right now?
Okay, before we dive any deeper, we need to get one thing straight. The word Stoic has been seriously misunderstood for a long time. So let's just tackle that big myth head on. This is the most important distinction we're going to make today. When we hear Stoic, we think of someone who's emotionless, bottling everything up, just gritting their teeth through pain. But that's not Stoicism with a capital S. The actual philosophy isn't about getting rid of feelings. It's about using your reason to manage the destructive ones, like pointless rage or spiraling panic, so you can actually experience the good ones more fully.
The whole goal of Stoicism can be summed up in this one Greek word, apatheia. Now, I know it sounds a lot like apathy, but it's pretty much the exact opposite. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you achieve a kind of freedom from being jerked around by your irrational emotions. It's about finding a deep sense of calm and resilience, not an empty void.
So, if it's not about being an emotionless robot, what is it about? Well, this is the cool part. Stoicism is less of a sit-around-and-think philosophy and more of a practical, hands-on toolkit for living a better life. Let's open it up and look at a couple of the main tools.
This, right here, is the absolute foundation of everything, the dichotomy of control. It's a simple but life-changing habit of asking yourself, is this something I can actually control or not? See, the Stoics said the only things you truly control are your own thoughts, your choices, your actions. Everything else, the weather, the traffic, what other people think of you, that's all external. And once you really get that, you stop wasting so much energy on things you can't change.
And here's a super practical example of how you actually do it. This isn't just a Dear Diary entry, it's a structured workout for your mind, used by people like the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. You review your day's judgments, you prepare yourself for tomorrow's challenges, and you hold yourself accountable. It's mental training, plain and simple.
So we have these ancient tools, and they sound good in theory. But here's the billion-dollar question. Do they actually work? Well, a few years ago, some scientists decided to find out. They put this ancient toolkit under the microscope of modern research.
Researchers at Birkbeck, University of London, set up a proper scientific study. They found a group of people who were high worriers, folks at risk for anxiety and depression, and for just 8 days, they had some of them do an online training program based directly on those Stoic exercises we just talked about.
And the results were pretty stunning. The group that did the Stoic training saw an 18% drop in rumination. Now, rumination is that toxic habit of getting stuck on negative thought loops over and over again. It's one of the single biggest predictors of depression. So an 18% drop in just 8 days, that's huge.
And it wasn't just about reducing the negative stuff. The training also actively built up the good stuff. The Stoic group showed a 15% increase in self-efficacy. That's a fancy term for your belief that you can handle whatever life throws at you. It's the very core of what we call resilience.
As the lead researcher, Alexander McClellan, pointed out, this was a really big deal. People had been interested in Stoicism for years, but this was the first time that science had hard, measurable evidence that actually practicing these techniques leads to real benefits for your well-being.
Now, if some of these Stoic ideas are starting to sound a little familiar to you, well, there's a very good reason for that. It turns out these ideas didn't just go into hibernation for 2,000 years, they actually became the philosophical bedrock for some of our most effective modern therapies.
This is the aha moment. The guys who created cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, one of the gold standards in therapy today, they were very open about it. They said they were heavily influenced by the Stoics. That core idea that our suffering doesn't come from events but from our judgment of those events, that's pure Stoicism, and it's the engine that powers modern CBT.
And I mean, just look at this. The parallels are incredible. What the Stoics called analyzing your judgments, a CBT therapist today calls cognitive restructuring. The Stoic idea of taking a step back from your thoughts, that's called cognitive diffusion in another therapy called ACT.
The dichotomy of control is all about acceptance, and the focus on virtue or values is a huge part of modern therapy too. It's almost a direct translation.
So, let's bring it all together. After busting the myths, looking at the tools, the science, and the modern-day parallels, what's the big takeaway here? What's the one thing you should walk away with?
It all boils down to an incredibly powerful and practical framework for resilience. It teaches you how to use reason to dial down harmful emotions. It shows you where to focus your limited time and energy on what you can actually control. It helps you prepare for life's challenges so they don't knock you over. And maybe most importantly, it's a guide to living a life that's actually aligned with your deepest values.
And really, if you were to tattoo one sentence on your brain from all of this, it would be this one, from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. It's not the traffic jam that makes you angry, it's your view of the traffic jam. It's our judgment, the story we tell ourselves, that's the real source of our trouble.
And that leaves us with one final, and I think incredibly empowering question. If our experience of the world is shaped by the view we choose to take, then the ultimate power really does rest with us. So the question is, what view will you choose?